Racism will no longer be allowed in the media. It's not just in the media, though, it's in our banks. When an indigenous woman goes to a bank in her typical dress, sometimes she's escorted out. My mother used to say, when she came from Orinoco towards Oruro City, she couldn't go to the main square. She wasn't allowed to enter. She wasn't allowed to walk on the pavement. She had to walk where horses and cattle had to walk. Pavements were only for the wealthy classes, and we have to break with that. We can go to the Plaza Murillo, then we got to Parliament, now we're in the Presidential Palace, and we were the discriminated class. We have to end that discrimination and racism of just some members of the media. We're not closing them, but there has to be severe penalties for those who use racism. We want to equip Bolivia to effectively combat drug trafficking. Some presidents made a proposal at bilateral meetings with international organizations. We would have helicopters, and we're working on how to finance that. We require very high-tech equipment to successfully combat drug trafficking. The Minister of Defense is in charge of that, and I think that there is goodwill on the part of international organizations and other presidents and heads of state and government at bilateral meetings for this. And then, I don't believe in an anti-democratic United Nations. We would like to see a deep-rooted revolution in the United Nations and start to make it democratic. Some countries with permanent some countries have eternal, permanent delegates on the Security Council, and that isn't a Security Council for the world. It's a question of insecurity. What the Security Council decides is applied by some countries, but other countries, such as the United States, ignore Security Council decisions. So what is the Security Council for? Is it so that some countries can be momentarily in charge? And if it's Colombia, then what, will there be a US delegate on the Security Council? We need to put an end to this Security Council to truly achieve security, and all countries, small, medium, large, developed, developing, should all have the same authority regarding security. Here, the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, only supports the national security of a country such as the United States. But what about international security? International security is much more important for me than national security. That is another profound difference. Of course, the message is one of permanent debate, and sooner or later we need a democratic revolution in the United Nations, so, as the Secretary General said, there is better governance. The United Nations will only be strong when it solves the issues of poverty, when it ends war and brings about peace with social justice. But what does the Security Council do? What has it done so far? It doesn't solve anything. And when the Security Council decides something, even the United States doesn't respect it. So what do we need the Security Council for? We don't need a Security Council that's in the service of the United States. I hope that bilateral relations with the United States will improve. And they should improve under an Afro-American president. Once and for all, I hope our foreign ministries finalize the new framework agreement, which respects the political constitution of the plurinational state of Bolivia, and as we respect the Constitution of the United States, because they had never respected our rules. They even wanted diplomatic immunity for their staff at the US Embassy, which means that they could kill at will and do what they like. Military bases have immunity in Colombia. The US military personnel can commit crimes and they will never be put on trial in Colombia. Then there is no clear sign from the Obama administration regarding improving trade, cooperation, relations, partnership with Bolivia. Why am I saying this? Because we no longer have preferential tariffs. But without that, we sell our textiles better to Brazil, Argentina, and Venezuela, and with no conditions. And we make more profit from it, more money from that. The United States, for developing countries, it has the Millennium Account. Well, they removed it for Bolivia. Unfortunately, we looked to Brazil and we no longer need that from the United States. And the so-called cooperation with US aid, so that's with the financial resources of the United States, and the leaders often conspire against our national government. I don't regret expelling the US ambassador, because now there are no more coup attempts against my government. So I would like to ask the US government to take time and consider the two presidents who have been discriminated against, one who is a result of migration, another who has been subjected to European invasion. We are from similar origins. We should join together and work for the poor and the most vulnerable. That should be our policy. I think that, we'll see a black guy and an Indian. It would be great. I do have some doubts about the current state of relations, but I would like dialogue with everyone. I don't want us to be blackmailed. I don't want to feel forced into something. But anyway, there now has to be another press conference, so thank you.